The following is a collection of short stories taken from the trench lines of the 95th Combined Assault Infantry Group, Anno Domini 1914. Flies have an odd way of grating on your nerves. The artillery shells pound the ground in front of you, and you feel nothing. The screams of the dead carry across the shaking barbed wire like a chorus of the damned. You feel nothing. The gear gets heavier with sweat and more disgusting in odor as you approach your 5th week without a shower. Still, you feel nothing. But in quiet moments, the ones between the highs of adrenaline and the lows of despair, the flies, buzzing, droning, crawling, entering the nostrils and the ears, they are persistent. Corporal Wright unwound around the midnight watch, his voice screeching about the buzzing. His shotgun soon expressed its feelings on the matter. The rest of his squad laid around him as meat in a butcher's shop. The flies? They were there too. Lieutenant Petrov read over the daily reports from his battalion, as was his duty before turning them over to the captain. The 95th Combined Assault Infantry Group was an ad hoc group of survivors from almost 30 different regiments that had been reduced to below quarter strength. 5 miles of trench line, manned by a mere 6,000 men, depleted in both body and spirit. Petrov sighed as he read supply logs, transfer requests, disciplinary reports, and other minutiae. The forces of Christ ran on both faith and paperwork. Last summer, Petrov was leading sweeping advances against a new invasion near Novgorod. Now, Petrov is stuck here, in the Levant. Gone are the glorious moments of victory, mixed with the horror of what hell can throw at a person. The monotony of trench life replaced it. Petrov read about Corporal Wright, and grunted in agreement. Flies are a pain in the ass. Now rats? That's another story. In between the booming artillery impacts and the odd rifle report, a droning voice begins to croon in the wastes. A groan of exasperation rises from the earthworks and redoubts. The choristers have begun to sing once again. Last night, 31 men succumbed to their song and ended their lives in a myriad of ways. 4 cases of insanity broke out during the aftermath. A pilgrim volunteer lost his capriolet and began skipping rope with the entrails of a former ammo bearer. It should be noted, the ammo bearer was laughing and attempting to eat the rest of his insides. Bavarian engineers and their Flammenwerfers fixed that issue and incinerated the unholy revelry. Francis Dandolo decided to take up the cross and crusade after he was caught stealing from the local market for the 5th time that month. The local magistrate gave him the option of either hard labor in the iron mines or a 5-year-long penitent crusade discharged upon his return or his death. Francis decided that he could have some fun on crusade. Well, at least more fun than being in a mine for 24 hours a day, and departed gladly. He didn't realize the depths of depravity and horror he would witness in the first minute, in the first hour, in the first year of his war. He never would have guessed that he would volunteer to be a cleric by his 2nd year, and now was the unofficial head priest of the 95th. Cardinal Dandolo, as he was called by the rank and file, semi-mockingly but with the greatest of love and respect, stood on the firing step of his trench section. A small candle lit the holy words he had received from his grandmother before his departure, filling his heart with joy. He looked out into the cratered hellscape and thought of his life until this point. He realized He forgot to set the altar for the morning mass, and began to step down to tend to his flock. Father Francis Dandolo never heard the Death Commando unsheathing its blade, nor saw it swing it into his skull. The mess trench was a place of creativity on the battlefield. Djembe was a cook hailing from Abyssinia originally, before finding his way into the service of New Antioch. His gift was to create delicious meals from seemingly simple ingredients. Delights for the palate to give reprieve from the terror outside. Little knew that Djembe listened to his inner voice, guiding his hands to material that would kill most mortal men. Gunpowder, latrine offal, rats, all went into his dishes, with the usual potatoes, meat, and grain. By the time the demon Bure finally influenced him to bake his own head, Djembe's cooking had infected a majority of the 95th's remaining forces. Every bout of dysentery, every collapsed lung, every scream of agony only served to give the demon more strength. The chorister's wail intensified, and the very earth seemed to move. In the shadows, the great evil was coming. Machine gun fire barked from the upper earthworks, as some Prussian Stoßtruppen spotted the advance of the host of Memnon. Their gun was thrice blessed by Kaplan Schmidt, and was filled with holy water in its jacket. Before the position was overran, the Stoßtruppen expended 5,000 rounds in the span of 8 minutes. They died with iron in their souls, staring down the hordes of the wretched and the anointed, while still feeding their gun. A mile of trench line fell to the assault, and was eventually driven back with great losses on both sides. The rest of the year 1914 brought more of the same for the remains of the 95th Combined Assault Infantry Group. By August, the 95th was rolled into a new regiment, as they had fallen to a mere 150 men. What was left was relegated to rearguard duty and menial labor. One former officer would shake as if he had some sort of palsy, and as he worked, would just repeat one word ad nauseum: flies.